All right, what's up, everybody? Look, it's been about a week since the last time that we talked about all of the chaos that's happening over in Iran and how it's impacting the stock market. And being that I think this is one of the most impactful things in the market right now that you need to pay attention to, I wanted to make a quick video for you all today, giving you all of the most recent developments and updates that you need to know as a stock market investor, because these things are causing some uncertainty in the market, and that is absolutely being reflected in stock market prices. And so today we're going to go over everything you need to know, and that's a good bit. So buckle up and let's get straight into it. So what we're going to be focusing in on today is what has been happening over in the Strait of Hormuz. Now, again, I know every week we talk about the Strait of Hormuz and oil prices and yada yada, and it does get redundant, monotonous, and annoying. I totally understand it, but trust me, you gotta pay attention to it because it is having, again, a direct impact on stock market prices. Well, let's start back on March 15th because this is when the uncertainty really started to pick up, and that was just a couple days ago. So a couple of days ago, we saw Trump warn of a very bad future for NATO allies if they refuse to help open the critical Strait of Hormuz. Trump basically said, listen, we need to open the Strait of Hormuz. This is having a very negative impact, not only on the United States, but on the globe. The fact that Iran is blocking this off and they have this big barricade, it's stopping the world from functioning as it needs to, and it's up to us at NATO to stop that from happening, right? But many NATO countries are like, we're not really getting involved. Like, we don't want to be a part of this. We don't feel like dealing with this. This is a you problem. You deal with it. And Trump obviously didn't like that. And so he warned of a very bad future if the U.S. allies failed to help reopen the crucial Strait of Hormuz, of course, as oil prices were starting to pick up. Now, he said this in an interview with Financial Times, that European nations and other global powers that rely on Gulf oil should join a U.S.-led effort to secure the waterway where roughly a fifth of the world's oil supply normally flows. Quotes, it's only appropriate that people who are the beneficiaries of the strait will help to make sure that nothing bad happens there. And whether you disagree or agree with Trump from a political standpoint in general, I would say in some capacity that is fair, right? Like, if the citizens of your country are going to be negatively impacted by inflationary issues and prices are going to go up because of this strait problem, kind of do have some sort of responsibility to help out with it. Now, does it need to be full-blown war? Possibly not, but you get my point, right? But this did start to, of course, start the dominoes. People started to get a little bit nervous because now Trump is starting to point fingers at people who are allies with the U.S. And this continued on throughout the weekend and even into Monday. On Monday, Trump said that he was frustrated that more countries aren't stepping up to join U.S. forces and keeping it clear for shipping. And he noted that he's keeping a list of those who are willing to help and those who are not. He actually added that he had approached 7 countries to help guard the critical waterway through which 1/5 of the world's oil passes annually. And he continued on. He said, we'll give you a list. We're going to have some good help, and I think we're going to be disappointed in some nations too, and I'll let you know who those nations are. So this sort of stuff right here does start to cause some uncertainty. The market's like, okay, now it's not only just a Strait of Hormuz, now Trump's annoyed with other countries, and what does that mean? Is he going to try tariffs? And it's like this whole thing, and that sort of uncertainty obviously negatively impacts the markets. Well, fast forward into today, this is when one of the biggest developments came out, and that was that the United States drops a 5,000-pound bunker buster on underground missile sites near the Strait of Hormuz. And so I guess Trump kind of came to a point where he was like, you know what, I'm not sitting around and just waiting for other countries to step up to help. We're going to start to do this ourselves. If Iran is going to use some of these missile sites near the Strait of Hormuz to target vessels traveling through the waters, we're going to just start to take them out. And he said that he would, right? He said last week, he said if Iran goes and starts firing projectiles on vessels trying to traverse the Strait of Hormuz, that they are going to really start to unleash some big weapons and some big power to neutralize that entire zone. And, well, you can start to see that playing out. What you can see here is that the U.S. military announced it just earlier this morning. Hours ago, U.S. forces successfully employed multiple 5,000-pound deep penetration munitions on hardened Iranian missile sites along Iran's coastline near the Strait of Hormuz. And the reason why they're doing this is because, again, they need to clear this up. You think, yes, does Trump like to just beef out with people for no reason sometimes? Absolutely. I think we can all agree. But the reason he's been calling on these other countries is because Trump does not want an inflation problem to come up because it doesn't look good for him near midterms. It's really what it is, right? And in addition to that, he wants control of this zone, and we all know why. At the end of the day, we all know why, right? And so he's serious when he says he does not want this oil problem to get too out of hand. He doesn't want to see oil prices absolutely skyrocketing. He doesn't want the Strait of Hormuz to be something that we have to work around. No, he wants it to be solved. And so if other nations aren't going to step in to help. He's just going to start to go in and, well, do, of course, what the U.S. has a tendency to do. And that's why, of course, just earlier today, we saw some absolutely massive bunker busters being deployed along the Iranian coast. Now, throughout all of this, with Trump kind of beefing out with other countries and some countries stepping up to help and us just saying, screw it, let's just drop some stuff on them, you know what I mean? With all of this, you have started to see the uncertainty hit the market. People are just not sure how this is going to play out. It's like, on one hand, you're like, well, Trump could probably handle a lot of this. And I say Trump, we're talking about the US, by the way. Like the US could probably handle a lot of this on its own. It probably doesn't really need other people's help in terms of actually kind of destabilizing many of these missile sites along the coast. But whenever it actually comes to traversing the water and having naval escort and things like that, the US's Navy is just not big enough to help sustain the amount of vessels that are waiting in the Gulf trying to go through. And so because of that, people are like, well, if a lot of countries aren't going to step up to help and make this kind of a joint effort, oil prices are going to continue to get delayed. And you're starting to see prices, even here in the United States, when you're at the gas pump, starting to climb up. And as a result of that, again, you are seeing UK oil, Brent crude oil prices climbing, US oil prices climbing a little bit, not as much, right? Not as much, but you are seeing those prices coming up a little bit right now. And you're also starting to see some of the effects of it. A good buddy of mine, Chris, who lives out in Texas, he told me that the cost of fertilizer where he is near his ranch, prices have gone up like crazy. So you're already starting to see the effects of these oil prices climbing. And as all of this news is happening and some countries aren't helping and some are helping and the US dropping bombs, it's only causing more and more uncertainty. And when you have uncertainty like that, it creates a market like the one we're in right now where it can't really catch any true traction. Like, no, we're not absolutely nuking. Don't get me wrong. The market's actually holding up still pretty decently. But even on a day like today, you're not really going to catch momentum in either direction because the market just doesn't know what's going to happen here. It's the reason why we're struggling to see any real price action in any capacity while the VIX does continue to gain some momentum itself, right? And so all in all, what you need to understand is that although things I think are moving in a bit of a better direction. I don't know if there's a better direction in war, but it does feel to me as if we are moving in a spot to where there should be some clarity from this soon, but it's not quite yet. And so for those of you who are hoping that this was just a 1 week thing or a couple day thing, I think this is going to show that there are much bigger dominoes in play here and much bigger factors in play here that are obviously going to continue to cause instability here in the market because people just don't know how this whole situation is going to play out. And that's the reason why it's so important to watch what's happening in the Strait of Hormuz, whether Trump is announcing this or the UK is announcing that or France is announcing that, right? Like you need to pay attention to how all of these interactions are happening because the longer this continues to be a stalemate, basically, it's going to continue to cause uncertainty. It's going to continue to cause instability, which could continue to push oil prices upwards, which is not good for people in general. It's not good for asset prices. It's not good for grocery prices. It's not good for anything, right? You don't want to see, or I guess oil stocks it's good for, but you don't want to continue to see that sort of thing happening. And there's a very real world that if, we don't see some sort of clarity over the next couple of days, that oil prices continue upwards, right? You see oil pushing through this 111 through 104 zone of liquidity. Like there's a real world in which oil pushes back up towards this previous high around $119 for Brent crude, right? So I'll keep you updated as it all does play out, but it is incredibly important to pay attention to how this is happening because it is impacting the market. Okay. So moral of the story, kind of TLDR for the day, things are still kind of escalating over here. Trump is not satisfied with the lack of help that he's getting right now. He is taking a lot of these matters into his own hands and hoping that all of these efforts do continue to open up the Strait of Hormuz to reduce the impact that we're seeing this have on oil prices. But as of right now, the market is still feeling a little bit scared. It's still a little bit uncertain. And so, of course, that's why we're seeing asset prices down a little bit so far. So that's where we are in terms of my own portfolio. Not looking absolutely terrible on the week. We're currently down about $5,700, which is about 1.5% in this portfolio. And then on the managed individual investing, this one is currently doing decently as well. This one's currently down about 0.5%, so holding up decently. All in all, though, I really am not super deterred or anything like that, if I'm going to be honest. Like my game plan remains the same. I think this whole situation when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz and the Iran conflict is temporary, maybe not short term, but temporary. And so I believe it's only a temporary problem, I do look at this as a buying opportunity. So I do still have plans of going in and accumulating when the time is right. And I'll keep you updated as that does play out. Okay. So that's what I'm doing in my portfolio. That's all the news you need to see. And that's what you need to be watching out for going forward. So guys, if you have enjoyed today's quick update, update on all this. Please don't forget to subscribe. This is a brand new YouTube channel. Started it just about 3 weeks ago. We were at like freaking 40 subscribers 2 days ago. I don't know where all you guys came from, but I'm happy to have you. I really do appreciate all the likes and the comments and the engagement. It really does help the channel grow. So thank you all so much, and I can't wait to see you all in the next one. See you, everybody.